Good people, guess what day it is? You know what it is. It is hump day. And on today, we will have a special guest coming in real soon, man. My teammate, my brother, my friend, one of my guys, Alejandro Villanueva. He did say he was going to be a couple minutes late. He was running a errand real quick, but you guys know how it is whenever I do these solo like that. When I interview one of my guys, one, there will be no DK today. So he did somewhat get fired, okay? But what I will tell you this is the guy that'll be filling in for him, Alejandro, today, it will be a good conversation. I don't know how long we're going to go. We'll just go until we feel we either have to stop or the conversation somewhat ends. But here's the thing. Y'all know how I am. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to have a good time and laugh. There'll probably be some jokes. There'll probably be a lot of stories. There will be some seriousness. And I'll let Al do his thing. We used to have this thing on Thursdays at Pounce's house. We call it Porch Talk. And almost every single week, somebody would have to hold court. And Al was mostly the guy that was holding court most of the time just because he's got a lot of life experiences. He's got a lot of everything. He's probably one of the more well-traveled people that I know. So because of that, you kind of just let Al have his way. I've also found out through Al and a lot of different stuff that you have to talk through a good bit of life experiences. You have to talk through ups. You have to talk through downs. And Al is a man that has seen a lot of everything, a lot like most of us too. But his is very unique. He will be on in a second. But in the meantime, I want you guys to fill this up. Yes, I want you to fill this up with questions that you have for him. I think he should be able to see some of the comments too. And on the other side of it, hit that like and subscribe button too. That's also very crucial to what we got going on here. I want to know first and foremost, I saw somebody have already asked the question. I will ask him this too. What was it? How awful was it playing for the Raisins? We'll have to fill him in on what the Raisins are. The Ravens for sure. You guys have definitely can thank him as much as you possibly want for his service. I will say, as somebody that's talked to him about that numerous times and in different ways too, he always plays that on the back burner as far as that being his duty or not his duty, right? He just did it because he loves America. He loves this country. He loves what it stands for, and he never asked any questions behind that either. I'll see if we can pull a story or two out of Al. And one in particular that always intrigued me was his last tour, if he wants to go into it. But I am at the mercy of Al. When it comes down to personal stuff like that, I kind of leave that up to the person who's going to tell that story or wants to tell that story. So I won't force I won't force Al to talk about something that he doesn't want to. And I'm sure y'all would respect that too. And Rob Thomas hit, where's DK? Does it matter today? We got Big Al, okay? So I see Dolly behind the scenes and she's shaking his head. So if his lovely is shaking her head about not worrying about where DK is, I think we can just fully turn this into the Ramon Foster show. But a lot of stuff will come up. And I'm looking forward to him joining us. He may or may not be on his phone, but it will be a good time as soon as he decides to come on. Any breaking news today? I don't think so. Only thing that matters is what me and Alejandro will speak about today. And as soon as he gets himself on, it will be fun. If you hadn't viewed any of our other interviews, whether it be with Roosevelt Nix, Marquise Pouncey, Kevin Colbert, Charlie Batch has been on, then you should go back and review those. I'm looking forward to actually having Mason Rudolph on tomorrow also. We'll see what that conversation is going to look like with him. We will be starting 30 minutes earlier tomorrow too because of my schedule. Of course, my kid has a game tomorrow. So in order to give you guys everything that you want, we're going to go a little bit earlier than we had planned on it. but it will be a good time. Mason is looking forward to. I've been communicating with him and Alejandro in a group chat together. So they're both are looking forward to being on this pod with me. And it may not come off as an interview either. I hope it doesn't. It'll be storytelling. It'll be a conversation. Again, if there's something that you guys want to talk about, y'all be sure to write it in the comments. Hit that like button, and we're going to have a good time today. And Favorite Barber, you got a great question. He says, hey, Mon, is that 2:30 Central Time or Eastern Time? That's 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern. We're just moving it up an extra 30 minutes so that we can maximize Mason's time and also give you guys what you're looking for also. So it's going to be very fun. Soon as Al comes in, we'll start the show with him. And it's just like most football players. We're going to usually be late no matter what. But Al is usually very punctual. He's probably going to come in trying to take over the show and talk all that he wants to. But all in all, he's a good dude. I'll never forget the sight of seeing him walk on the football field for the first time. One, I didn't know what position Al played. When he came to Pittsburgh, he was about, I don't even know if he was 300 pounds at the time. And we watched him eat. We watched him drink. We watched him eat some more. And he turned into an offensive lineman. From there, he was nothing but a sponge. Okay. He was absolutely nothing but a sponge as far as learning. And I'll be honest with you, too. The mashup of the room that we had at the time, Marcus, DeCastro, myself, Pounce, Chris Hubbard was around, and others, too. And mix it with Munch a little bit. You made a perfect recipe for guys who are mature enough that can handle Munch and his teaching. And Al was the perfect sponge for that. I don't think many people know he was a college wide receiver / tight end. His first introduction into the NFL was playing tight end. I think he was trying out for tight end. And then he had to go back over for another tour, and he came back as an offensive lineman. We actually stole him from Philadelphia, that is, at that time. But he turned into not just a dude, but a Pro Bowler. And he played really well for us, too. Despite what some may think, it is hard playing left tackle in the NFL. And some of the stories that we had as far as how we had to grow up with one another, we got onto one another, too. It was times, of course, where I had to be the one, not necessarily being the authoritative one, but just had to let him know this is how we're going to go do this. And then Al was so adamant and passionate about learning and growing too. He dove in even more. The mental side of it also was where he really helped himself too. And Patrick, you're absolutely right too. He was an attempted defensive lineman in Philly. So I'm going to make sure I save this one and bring that one back too, because that's the thing about it. We played Al in a preseason game. And in that preseason game, he I think he said he ended up having a sack. It may have been on Mason or it may have been on Landry Jones, but he never stopped talking about that. So we'll get that story too. And he was so good at defensive line that when he got cut, he ended up having to go to O-line. And what's cool about that, though, is he was receptive to it. I don't know if he realized what it was going to turn into as far as his career, but he made it into something that was prosperous for him, that gave him a different identity away from, him just being an Army Ranger. And he absolutely grew from there. And it was a great teammate, a great friend, and we'll see if he's actually somewhat punctual when it comes down to how he does his interview. He's already a little bit late. Rodolfo brings up something too. Did Al teach Juju how to drive? Yes, he did. But that's him though too. Again, he's a service person. That's what he wants to do, is help out as many people as he possibly can. So that's one of the things that he was huge upon. And Juju could not drive. I think he ended up having an electric car that he ended up having to figure out how to drive through the streets of Pittsburgh, because around that city, you must be able to have a car. And this is before Uber actually took off even more. So it wasn't just that, it's other things. So I think you guys have seen the pictures that have kind of resurrected a little bit since Mason became a guy. Mason went down to his farm and just was a dude down there. And if you talk to Alejandro right now, he's a dude that will tell you he's a reason for Mason's success. So I gotta ask him about Mason. Everybody that I know that was around that guy absolutely poured into Mason. There's Mason, Texas right now. But he poured into Mason and had a good time with them too. And I got to ask him about the last year that I wasn't there. How did that actually turn into, how did the room actually react after that? They had to deal with COVID. And not soon after that, not long after that, Al ended up leaving to go to Baltimore. So I have to ask him how Baltimore was. He did give us a little bit as far as how Harbaugh was, what the culture in Baltimore was, and it's somewhat very similar to Pittsburgh too. It's real crazy. Sleeping Lady, I digress on that one. I actually do think you do need a car in Pittsburgh, especially if you're an athlete and you got to get up early in the morning and make your rounds in the snow and everything else. I do think you need one, but Juju thought so too. And it's weird. People that come from California and New York, for the most part, they do not know how to drive. And you learn. Willie Colon was another person that did not know how to drive when he became a professional athlete. And if you ever saw Willie around the city of Pittsburgh, he had one of the biggest Dodge trucks ever that he had it decked out in New York Yankees monographs and just stickers and stuff on his vehicle. But he didn't know how to drive. It was huge, it was big, and it was just foolproof to where he just couldn't wreck it, I think is what it was. But we have some very unique characters in Pittsburgh and a lot of different eras, and Al is probably culprit number one. Coach T always found ways to challenge him, always went at him. And the way to get Al going for this, to me, is probably talking about mostly non-football related things. We're going to get the best conversations about him. But, of course, I'm going to ask him about how he felt about the Patriots, how he felt about Baltimore, what did the AFC North ball feel like in comparison to. I'll ask him about his time in Philly, too, for however long that was. He has some unique stuff about that, too. But I'm very fascinated to hear him actually be in this space with me and having an open conversation. When he gets on, I'm going to tell him, I'm going to tell you guys what he wanted to charge me for actually letting him get on. And it's in a funny way. I told him, like, Al, I need you on the podcast. He's like, yeah, sure. And then he sent me a number amount. I'm like, Al, I thought we were friends. But with all that being said, we're doing this for free because I'm one of his friends that helped save him on Sunday. So he can't charge a friend like that. I see all the questions coming in, and we will get to most of them. If you hadn't seen what Francesco just said, hit that like button if you just joined us. Share, subscribe to the page also while you're here too. And as soon as Al shows up, I'm not sure if I got to call him real soon, but as soon as he shows up, we're going to get him on and continue the show. And, of course, we'll have to let him know also, too, what the raisins are. Where is my guy at? As I continue to FaceTime him now. He said he had to drop somebody off, so we'll see. Who drove the worst car? The worst car is probably always going to be a rookie. Somebody who is just in college trying to figure this thing out and going from there. But all in all, everybody has something decent around Pittsburgh because you have to. And yes, this is still one of my worst fears to this day right here, Nelson, is driving in the snow. I am not a fan of snow driving. But it will be fascinating to see how this breakdown is and what Al thinks of what his career in Pittsburgh turned out to be, and also what he's doing. So I'm not sure if you guys knew that too, but Al also has a farm that he's actually growing stuff on too. Where is he at? Dude, you logging on? 2 seconds. All right, there he is. They heard him. You getting ready? You don't look ready, Al. What we doing? You can't cut. You can't cuss. I don't even know if you need headphones, Al. No, I don't think you need them. Vince didn't have them. All right, hop on. There he is. So here we go. So I had to FaceTime him. And he's scruffy as heck too, which is all good. But here we go. Dolly, is he coming in yet? Who's a better pass protector, me or Al? All day, it's me. Hopefully he would tell you that too. We'll see what he says. I'm gonna save that one as the first question on the template for us. Who's the best pass pro? I would expect it to be me. Hopefully he doesn't see himself as number one on that one because it was always a team thing. Yes, Mikey, I already got the hump day. We got that out the way to start it off because we somewhat started on time and Alejandro's held us up a little bit. But it is what it is. See, this is what you have to deal with when you deal with athletes sometimes. You have to call them beforehand. You have to remind them. Then you have to text them also. And then there's still the waiting game. So for the people that always brought up Antonio being late, guess what? Now Alejandro is one of those late people, all right? But that's my guy. Come on. I bet you Mason doesn't show up this late tomorrow. Most quarterbacks will be on time for this type of stuff. But as you can tell, my monologue's almost over. And we're going to take this as long as we have to. And Al is going to have to make up some time. Cody, hit me with it, man. We got some questions for you, Mona. Keep away from the dead air time. What you got? Is DK trolling? Absolutely not. Not today, okay? I don't even know what DK is. He didn't on these types of days, he usually gets out of the way and let me kind of do my thing. First question you have, Spy Guy, where's Big Al from originally? I think he was born in Mississippi. That's where I think he has dual citizenship, as he just sends me a picture of that. He has dual citizenship, if I'm not mistaken. He went to school. I think he discovered football in Germany for the first time. What was game day like for me? Calm. It was the payoff. That was the biggest payoff for me, was having everything in the barn and being in a position to where you just wanted to play ball. There's one thing I will say. Munch prepared us so much on game day that he kind of somewhat stayed out of the way. That was my thing that I appreciated most about Munch, was there was no yelling on game day. There was no cussing you out on game day. There was no getting in your way of you doing your job. And I think that's why a lot of this fan base still wants him to come around. I think a lot of those people understand how he empowered us as players too. And it was super cool to watch us somewhat grow up. I'm not sure if there's been a group of guys who have been able to do that for the most part. But he really captivated our group and had us grow up too. I did see somebody just ask the question, is Munch interviewing for jobs? It's funny you say that. That question and conversation actually came up on my brother's show, Ron. Ron has a show here in the afternoon on the same station that I have, and that statement actually got dropped on his show. From my understanding, Munchak is looking to coach. I'm not sure what it's going to take to get him in your building, where he wants to coach at. What is he actually seeking? I do know he's one of those guys that is searching for a ring, like most players are also. But all in all, it seems to be that he is up for it again. I'd love to see him back in Pittsburgh. I think they have a very unique group, but it's a matter of how you think you can win, because that does matter, and where and what style and input. Munch is a very strong-minded person that is understanding too. So it's going to have to be a good spot for him. This is a good one, Michael. Michael asks, hey, Mom, what's your favorite restaurant that you miss going to in Pittsburgh, or place that the team hung out mostly? I actually like the Ichiban place, hibachi place in Wexford. That was a good place that we don't have down here in Tennessee as much as you guys have up there. Meat and potatoes is really good, and there's a couple other places too. There he is. He just popped on.
Yes, sir.
Ale, you said 2 to 3 minutes late.
I know. I completely lied about it.
I hate you, dude. Just so you know that,
Bro,
okay?
Are we live right now or no?
We are live right now.
Oh, I was going to say something ignorant. Okay, good.
How close to ignorant was it?
Pretty ratchet.
It was pretty ratchet. Yeah. I just need you to know, I just had a 20-minute monologue, okay? Yeah. Waiting on you because you told me 2, maybe 3 to 4 minutes late. That was a 20-minute dialogue. I've never done that a day in my life, okay? You owe me.
This is unlike me for sure.
This is unlike you. Also, somebody also fined you too, 10,000 for being late.
100% rubles.
And rubles?
In rubles. Yeah.
What is wrong with you, man? I gave them a preference, man, on how we gonna do this show. We probably gonna laugh. We're probably gonna talk some football. The laughers. Exactly. You remember when Coach T had to tell us we couldn't be around each other in the off season? Yeah. Just because we laughed so much.
So much, bro. It was not, laughs kept us alive.
How did we get to that point, if I can ask you? Because you'll think about it different than I did. The laughers, the goons. Like, how are we goons when we were laughing so much?
I mean, I have a self-serving theory that is...
can you do me a favor? Can you turn your phone the other way?
The other way like this?
No. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So my theory is that Coach Munchak used to put little notes in other place in the little cubicles that we have to go through all the time.
Yeah.
And he would always attack me. And then it was so funny that it was always constantly laughing at me all the time because I would take it. And because you said that I liked it. And so that's how we became the laughers.
As I just burst out laughing again. My brother Ron, you remember him, man? He's like, now that's an entrance right there, man. He's looking too, man.
Bro. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. You're right. Was I the instigator then?
Yeah, you were an instigator. I mean, obviously Pouncey was out of control. Gil was the loudest laugh. And then when Finney came in, he relieved the duties of being the abused. And so then we split the abuse between Finney and I.
Finney. No doubt. I have this Christmas picture and video that shows up when Gil bought you that big bag of gifts. I don't know why that video keeps showing up in my memories.
That is the funniest video I think that defines our entire tenure together. That those Christmas that we would have where I knew for a fact I was getting the same gift every single year.
We can't say that on air, but either way, Al, I appreciate you coming in, man, and doing this show. I told them also, why did you try to charge me $50,000 for this interview?
No, because I remember you used to define your friends, and you used to say you're my guy, and I said, well, what is a guy? What is the difference between a guy and a guy? And you say that you're 50, you're my 50. I'll loan you $50K. You know, I'm giving you up to $50K, and there's no questions asked. And that was a guy. I don't know what guy was. And then I said, I'm your guy, $50K plus. You know
yeah. I mean? Okay. Yeah, that's very true. We talked a lot of crap. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say too. But you are my guy though, man. I appreciate you coming on. If you did need it, which I know you don't, you got it. Okay.
Nice. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I do. Let's get into it, man. If you want to, Al. What are you doing these days? Let's start there.
So right now I got into farming. I moved to Miami, Florida. We used to have those secret handshakes when we were playing, and we had this ideal that we were all going to live in Jupiter, all of us. And then obviously you started showing your loyalties towards Tennessee, but we all thought that we were going to move to South Florida, and so I moved down here. I actually went to the University of Miami for a day. I went to class for a day, and then I quit that same day. The first time I ever quit anything in my life. And then I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? And then I started looking, started searching, talking to a lot of neighbors. And maybe because of my Spanish background, and the Spanish world comes from a more agricultural background. It's not as developed as the industrial Northern European countries. So I grew up in a farm when I was a kid. And then the fact that I saw an article many years ago of a lot of NFL players and coaches who bought farms back in the day in Napa when it was dirt cheap. And then obviously years later, it became an incredible investment. So based on the geography here in South Florida, based on the culture and based on my personal experience growing up in farms and being extremely interested in tropical fruits, then, I started farming probably about a year ago. And so it's been an
Nice.
incredible journey. Yeah.
No doubt, man. Let's go back a little bit too, man, if you want to. Your
Yeah.
background. You say your Spanish background, Al.
Yeah.
You were born in Mississippi, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm from Mississippi. My bad. My bad.
My bad.
Yeah. I was born in Mississippi. My father was learning how to fly Harriers and F-18s. They're both
Yeah.
McDonnell Douglas made jet crafts. And part of the course, it started in San Antonio, where they taught my dad how to speak a little bit of English. And then you moved to Meridian, Mississippi, where you learn how to fly a basic plane. And then you finish your course in Pensacola, where you do jet training. So I was almost a Florida boy, but I became a member of the Dirty South, and so I guess I'm from Mississippi. I've never been to Mississippi other than when I was born, but yeah, that's where I'm from.
Really? I didn't realize that. And of course we've gone through it personally, but to just preface this crowd that's watching us, Al, and from there you lived overseas in different countries too. Your dad, like you said, is in the service too. So you guys moved and traveled a lot.
A lot.
What other countries were you in your upbringing?
So I was born in Mississippi. Then I moved to Pensacola. Then I went to Rota Naval Station, where I spent most of my life. I guess I claim it as my hometown in Rota. 2 miles away from Africa. So, I woke up in the morning and I saw Africa every single day of my life. It's funny when I tell people, because they always go, but it's true. I mean, Europe and where I'm from is extremely close. And then I went up to northern Spain for 3 years in Saragossa. Then I went to Newport, Rhode Island for 6 months. I was in the World Trade Center a month before they came down.
Really?
Yeah. And then when I went back to Rota, then I started noticing how the United States shifted into a war sort of mindset. And then I went to the Canary Islands for a year. And then finally I went to high school in Belgium. And then from Belgium, I went to an American high school, and I played all the, my high school experience was the most incredible experience, I think, that any kid could ever had.
Why is that? In Germany?
No, it was Belgium, which is
Belgium,
a very small country, very close to Germany. But the United States after World War II had almost over 500,000 U.S. citizens, U.S. soldiers and their families stationed on West Germany, and obviously because of the Cold War and the wall, there was a lot of tension. The Cold War, so the United States amassed a lot of troops on West Germany. West Germany developed incredibly well, and when it finally came down in the 90s, the United States left their troops in their strategic assets, or as part of our foreign policy. And so when I went to high school, I was with a bunch of NATO kids. So all the kids in my class were from all the different countries, but Americans were the majority. Yeah. So I went to an American high school, and I had that experience of going to homecoming, listening to Usher, Little John, all the cultural things that were happening in the 2000s in the United States. I was exposed to them. And then one of my best friends said, the first kid that I met at school, he said, "Man, we barely got enough kids to form a football team. Why don't you join the football team?" And I was playing rugby, in Europe, and so I always looked down on American football because I thought that it was too soft.
Did you from rugby?
I thought it was too soft, and I thought that the ego of the football player was very individualistic, whereas rugby
look at you.
Right now, yeah, screw rugby. Rugby's the worst. You know what I mean? Give me touchdown celebrations all day, and controversial post-game, press conferences. But I started playing football, and then to play football, we would get on a bus on Friday, and we would travel around all the bases around Europe, and then we would play all the other bases, all the other the sons of the service members that were stationed all throughout Germany. So it was incredible. It was amazing that I got to travel and I got to see Europe. I'd never seen Europe until until that time. But I did it through the American lens of the U.S. military. And then once I met my teachers, I played a little bit of football. They started putting this idea in my head that I didn't have to have good grades. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be big and tall, and then they would pay for my education. I did not know how both of them correlated with each other. I did not know how being really big and strong will help you in your education. But I through that, I guess I started getting really motivated to come to the United States, and so that's when I decided to go to the United States Military Academy.
So that's what I was going to ask you then. So why Army? Like, and I asked you that, and I know the answer. It's a family thing. Your dad is
no.
Your dad. What?
Yeah, my dad's in the Navy. No, I wanted to go in the Navy. I mean, I've said this 1,000 times. I've said this a bazillion times.
I never listened to you, Al.
I know. So, Top Gun, saw it, said, say less. I'm going to be an F-18 pilot. It's over. I'm going to become Tom Cruise, a little bit taller, slightly larger pecs. I'm going to the Navy. I'm going to win all the wars with Goose in the back. But then when I turned 17, I was 6'10", and so
when did you hold up? When did this growth happen though? Too
it happened when I was 14. So I stopped growing. I was 14 years old. 14
You've
years
been
old.
6'9", 6'10", so you were 14.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be 770. I was very afraid of being too tall. So I never liked being this tall because when I was 14, I was just too big. I was just too tall.
You stood out too much.
I stood out way too much. So I wanted to be in the Navy. I always thought that, the Navy has much better posts. It has a much easier and familiar lifestyle. It's always close to the ocean. I love the ocean. I love the sea. And I always thought, and I still believe that, for the United States and for our mission, we want to have the strongest Navy. The Navy is the most important component of a global empire.
Yeah.
If you call it American empire, huge debate. I don't think it is, but it's very important to control the oceans and the waterways. And so I wanted to become a naval officer, but I had those two handicaps. One, that I was extremely tall, and then two, that when I did my physical to go to the Naval Academy in Germany, they told me that I was colorblind and that I couldn't see red and green to the standards of the Navy, and so all my dreams were crushed. And then one of my best friends, idiot, big time. I know. I want to be a Marine too, which is the least, in terms of requirements for of IQ, in preparation. You got the Marines, and that's what I wanted to be. But I couldn't. But
you also say they're movie stars too.
No, the Marines. I like the Marines. The Marines are not movie stars.
Okay.
It's the other naval. It's the other naval forces and the other naval troops that do have podcasts, books, movies, before they leave the military.
Okay, I got you.
But Marines, if you give me a chance right now to be a Marine and go to Fallujah, I wouldn't hesitate. Marines to me were exactly who I wanted to be. But I couldn't be a Marine. I couldn't distinguish between a red buoy and a green buoy, which are critical to become a Marine and conduct amphibious operations. And so I went to the military academy because a lot of my friends their parents were in the Army. And they were going to the military academy, and then I fell in love with the Army. The Army was unknown to me. I had never been to an Army base. I had not known a lot of Army soldiers. All the soldiers that I met in Rota were Marines and Naval and Air Force. But the Army has a component that is people. So in the Army, you have to know people. You have to be very intimate with your soldiers. You have to be extremely aware of where they're from. You have to be able to motivate them. You're with them. You're equal to your men. Yeah. You just have a different title, but you're exactly the same as your soldiers. Whereas in the Navy, for example, the officers eat at a different place than the enlisted. I even tell I talk a lot of crap to my dad all the time and stuff like that. You talk about leadership. When you're eating in your nice little regal room with your silver spoons and your pictures in the back. And so the Army was a lot more of my personality, I thought. And then I went to West Point, and West Point changed my life. West Point is the most. You
brag about West Point, man, so much so that the Army-Navy game we have to go to together. Yeah. Okay, you've bragged about that. My brother Ron, his show goes to it every year. Okay, and he's bragged about it. And you talk about how beautiful the campus is. And
the most beautiful. It's the most beautiful. Listen, all the architecture and all the places in the United States are ugly. Ugly. There's nothing. There's not a city in the United States. Maybe Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is the only city in the United States.
Listen to how you say Savannah, Georgia, too. Like, come on, man.
Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is the only city in the United States that is worth going. Other than that, all the cities in the United States look exactly the same. It's a drag with a Target, TJ Maxx, McDonald's, all the same. Terrible. But
you hadn't been to Ripley, Tennessee, okay? I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Terrible. Terrible. I don't like cities.
But you chose Miami. Stop.
Miami's actually the only city that is actually semi-pretty, you know, in terms of the buildings on the water and whatnot. Only one. But
see, this is what Al does. See, you do this, and this is why Munch went at you, and this is why we went at you so much too, because you have these narratives that you know aren't true and are
not true.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna get Italian in here. You can't compare Florence. You can't compare Milan. You can't compare Rome, Paris, London, Madrid, Barcelona. You can't compare those with Chicago or New York City with giant rats taking pizzas off the subway. There's no way. There's not the way. It's not the same, Ramon. It's not the same.
Okay, I'm hearing you, Al. But West
Point is one of those places. I think the West Point is by far the most beautiful place in the United States, and the history being George Washington's headquarters during the Revolutionary War, the graduates, the narrative. I mean, it really embodies a part of the American personality that is extremely attractive to me. Is the quiet professional, which unfortunately I have not had the pleasure of being that quiet professional. It does have an incredible work ethic and values. And so for me, West Point was, you know, I'm not so much proud of being a West Point grad as much as I am very thankful to have gone to West Point.
Okay, that makes sense. I get that. If you guys get the back and forth now, you see why we got tight. You also see why Al was always the butt of the conversation too. I told him before we came on Thursdays on Porch Talk, we everybody had their time. No, it wasn't forced, but you had to hold court, and nobody held court longer than you or more than you either, Al.
I have enjoyed one of the things that you enjoy the most about both the military and the NFL is the diversity of where people come from and how men bond by completely humiliating each other. And so when you hold court, then you prevent others from
changing the narratives on you.
Yeah, the narratives on you. Exactly. Yeah. You talk the whole time, nobody else is gonna say anything negative.
No doubt. But when did football get serious with you? Because I know the story and you've told it before. You ended up going into the NFL. You were trying out with Cincy as a tight end. You had to go do some tours. You did a tour or some tours, right? You come back and you sign with Philly as a D lineman. Who did you sack, and who did you get that sack off of in Philly too?
Yeah, it was Ryan Mallett. It was Ryan Mallett. Rest in peace.
Oh man, yeah.
I got to the quarterback before Brandon Graham, and I said, I'm locked in. I'm in the 53, baby. You know what I mean? Brandon Graham couldn't get there, and I got there. There's no way, and I sacked him. I mean, I think I got a horse collar, just dunked him, celebrate, pointed at the stands to my wife. You know what I mean? It was a great moment. I said, man, I got a sack in preseason. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize that it was in the last like 10th place. You know? I know. It was the third
cleanup duty against a dude that was probably way worse than you.
No, I guess he went to Florida. He went to Florida because I remember telling Pouncey, who I got the sack on, and he said, "Oh, he's a Gator. He's a Gator." And I was like, "Okay, maybe that deserves a little bit of credit." But no, I started taking football seriously the moment Beecham went down. The moment Beecham went down, I was like, "Whoa, this is live. This is live, boys.
This is live bullets now.
This is live bullets now. Yeah, this is a lot more because I was going to Carnegie Mellon. When I was in practice squad, I was.
We got on to you about that too, and that's one of those things where you were trying to better yourself in education. We trashed you for going to class.
Trash. But I mean, I never thought I was going to make it in the NFL.
You did. So let me take you back before you go any further. I remember preseason. Did we just play Philly or something? All I remember was this, and let me know if I'm off.
Yeah.
We're out there in the practice field. This is post preseason games. So we done the 4 games. You had got released, and I think I remember watching Kev. Was it Kevin Colbert walking you out on the practice field?
I'm not sure.
I
Who
think it
walked
was
me.
Kev.
Maybe. I remember I walked on the practice. I was a little late because I had to do all the in-process. And
Yes.
the first thing I did was one-on-ones against Tuitt, right tackle, and he whiffed. And I whiffed both times. And I
Bad.
said, yeah, it was my first time playing tackle in forever. I was a triple option guy. I was like, can I get in a 3-point stance? I got in a 2-point stance. What the hell are you doing? Get in a 2-point.
From wide receiver to tight end to D-line to tackle. I remember watching you walk out to the practice field. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell is that dude? And you're
Yeah.
tall as hell. I'm like, what we going to do with him? Little did
Yeah.
I know we was going to play years next to each other. Like you
Right,
said,
right.
yeah, crazy, man. So your introduction to Pittsburgh was what, though?
My introduction to Pittsburgh was
you get beat by Tuitt.
I got cut from Philly, and then I'm at the public library in my in-laws' house, learning how to do a resume. My resume is like 2 lines. It's like Army, my major. Like I don't know what can I explain to anybody. I don't know what I'm going to be working on. I was contacting headhunters to see if I could get a medical sales job or something. And Coach Tomlin called me, and you know how Coach Tomlin calls you on the phone, you feel like you're talking to the most like hypersonic, charismatic human being in the world. He's like, hey,
he captivates you.
He captivates you with a phone call, and he said, "We want to bring you out here for a workout." And so I went to Philly. I went to Pittsburgh. Drove by myself. I did a workout. I worked out with John Mitchell. I did a D-line workout, and he looked at Coach Tomlin and said, "Like, yeah, he's too slow. He's not going to be able to get off the ball fast." And then they passed me. To Munchak, and Munchak started doing all these drills, all these the individual munch drills, And he said, it was kind of like, yeah, I'll take him. You know what I mean? Kind of like,
yeah.
You guys going to throw him away? I'll take him.
So what's fascinating about Munch? Munch is very interested in the service. Do you think that played a part in it too? As far as like, if he was a soldier, I can train him.
Yes, for sure. I think that the baby boomers all had a lot of them missed. I mean, this is my theory. So a lot of them missed Vietnam by a few years. So Munchak missed Vietnam by the draft. In Pennsylvania, I watched the movie because he told me to watch it. He said, watch the movie The Deer Hunter. And I was like, oh, I'll watch it. And so The Deer Hunter was a very good representation of what Pennsylvania was like during the Vietnam era, where you either went to the mills and you worked in the South Side, working on Carson Street in these giant mills, or you went to Vietnam,
Yeah.
And so the Vietnam War was not very popular, rightfully so. Imagine a Vietnam right now in 2023. It would be a disaster. But for a lot of people, it was the sense of duty of serving for your country, just like it is, just like it is now. And so the service became very entangled with football, and a lot of coaches just loved the military. So the only reason why I got with Philly is because Chip Kelly loved the military as well.
Wow.
And Munchak wanted to be a soldier, and that's the one thing that he wanted to do. And so I think there was always a little bit of admiration from the coaches who committed their life to Diet Pepsi and Copenhagen and thousands of hours of meeting, going over the same protection for the rest of their lives, and a life that they could have had they gone to the service.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And you're right. When Beach got hurt, like it got serious for you. What?
Yeah.
I wasn't an asshole, was I? I wasn't that bad, was I?
I think you have to be bad because you want to make sure that I don't. For example, I was thinking about this on my way here. One of the funniest things between you and I, one of the things that we were able to navigate in our friendship, was tripping each other. How do you not trip it? Because you know how bad it looks when you're doing an amazing set and you got him.
Yeah.
But you just all of a sudden you're on your back.
Yeah.
It looks ugly. Hopefully he falls on you. But if he falls on you, you drag him with you to hold.
It's a holding call.
And if he sacks the quarterback, it's going to be a reel over and over again.
You'll never live it down.
Forever. So as an offensive lineman, the tackle guard have to make sure that they don't trip each other. And for us, I remember that the first game, so it was a half game against Arizona, Dwight Freeney, no big deal. But then the second game, it was against Kansas City, and they like to do a lot of twists.
Sure did.
And you and I got beat on a couple of twists. on the backside of 5-man protection, good old 53 protection. Oh
Good
no,
old
53!
They're sliding and leaving us. Yeah.
Right. And so you and I had to work together about finding our depth and finding our sets in order not to trip each other. And that's when I started becoming very close to you and just doing the vertical set in order to avoid tripping each other and being able to pass off the twist, which was the biggest thing that I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want the 5 technique to spear you, and I did not want you to have to take a huge step to the left to pass me the defensive tackle, because then you would step on me and then I will fall.
Yep. You're right. And I'll never forget Munch breaking it down to us in meetings and stuff, and just over and over. Then we'll go from there to the practice field, and oh my God, I loved and hated it because he did little things, like you said, that Army stuff, the last push, you know what I'm saying? The extra rep and all those. Yes. But that's how he made us play, though, too. And I think it's just super unique of all the dudes I played with on that side, whether it was somebody older than me, whether it was Beecham, whether me and Gill on the right side and stuff like that. Ours was the most unique because we were big as heck. I'm talking about height-wise, size-wise, like you couldn't miss it. Yeah, leg-wise, like all of that was huge, and having to get used to you and your movements. And honestly, you were still learning a lot.
Oh, but one thing I asked you the snap count. You remember that was crazy. How every single time it's almost insane. I wouldn't even listen to the huddle. I was like, I'm gonna double check with Ramon, and then I became used to it. Yeah. I became used to it where I would listen to the play one time, but I was like, I'm gonna verify with Ramon on the way to the line of scrimmage. And then we would say like 35, and then you and I would say like 30,000 times. Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, so we would be on the same page. And then as we progressed and as we started playing with each other, then we started giving all the fake calls like crazy. You know what I mean? Oh. Then we got savvy. Then we became savvy vets, and then we started having fun together for sure.
We did, man. But it was dope to actually kind of watch you grow up, though, and me too, because we both were still growing in the same point. When Munch came in for all of us, right. I think it was crucial. Pounce benefited, you did, Dave did, Gil did, everybody that listened benefited from it. And think about all the dudes that was in that room that left that room and got paid. Right. Matt Filer, the anchor, him, Hub. Okay, Finney ended up going somewhere else. Right. Just the dudes that were around that were in it benefited from it. And we had a super dope group, man. With a lot of different personalities.
We went to breakfast, to the couches, to meetings, to 3 hours of labs, to the walkthrough with Ben, to post practice. I mean, we were together 24/7. It was amazing. What an incredible era for sure.
One thing I try to explain to this fan base, this group that's watching us now, man. Shout out to you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button too while y'all still in here, okay?
Hit the like and subscribe.
Well, why are they playing around, Al?
Yeah, hit the like and subscribe. Move on from here.
What the hell are we doing, man? People ask the question, how do we get so close? Like this wasn't an overnight thing. It happens through reps, as you said. You walk into the line and say, Ramon, what is it? Or Al, hey, Monday, Tuesday. It was meetings. The way we challenge each other a lot.
Oh yeah. If you had a bad rep,
oh my,
during individual, there'd be silence in the room, and Munchak will just play over and over again, and then Pouncey will say something so ignorant and demeaning and demoralizing, and then you just want Earth to swallow you, and you want it to disappear and die in that second. You'd say like, I don't want to. Before you play that rep one more time, just make it go away. You know, just disappear from Earth, please.
But see, the thing was, though, if it was something that was correctable, he did that. We all had at one point in time one really bad play, and we know it's coming up, and Munch would go past it.
Depends on how established you were, you know, and depends on whether you need it or not. Pouncey, he would never show Pouncey.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't even make him do one-on-ones.
What's crazy? Go ahead.
No, the one-on-ones, Pouncey not doing one-on-ones, that is the biggest, like, what the hell are we doing here? You know what I mean? Nobody wants to do one-on-ones. You know, who wants to do one-on-ones on week 16 of the season on 4 pads, you know what I mean? 2 reps against a young buck. You know, who wants to do that? You know, Pouncey sitting out. And he was always encouraging people, you know?
He was.
And when the defense would win, it would be like, oh, got him in the mixer. I'm like, what are you talking about? Man? You're with us, bro.
You're supposed to be with us. Yeah. What's crazy, and we say this all the time, and Pounce admitted it on here. The only reason I'll say it, Munch used to fuss at me and you for something that Pounce did or that Dave
all the
did.
time. All the time. It was the golden child. That don't say anything. You know what I mean?
But that's how he operated, though, too. That's some crazy stuff right there, man. In that, though, what I was getting to originally was what we had in Pittsburgh and how we built it, the whole Goons mantra that Coach T kind of ran with in public and everybody else took on, too. For this young group that they have in Pittsburgh now, if you're watching the game, and I know you do a lot of other stuff besides watch football, it takes time, is what I've been telling people. When you look at Dan Moore, when you look at Broderick Jones, Isaac Simalo, I think you know him from Philly, if I'm not mistaken. But a line out, either way, it takes time to build up what we had.
It does, but I mean, it also takes. I mean, we had an amazing quarterback. You know what I mean, and we knew which plays. I mean, we knew which play. I remember Gil would always ask Ben during practice whether a play was going to be like a quick pass or a long pass. And so then we also, I remember Gil and I would study the route concepts, and then because we knew that if a quarterback holds the ball, or if it's a quick throw, then you can become more aggressive. You can jump set your guy. You can that even if you whiff, the ball's going to be out. And then the other protections like 74, versus a 7-man blitz was going to be a lot more challenging, and you have to change your sets. So I think obviously Ben helped a lot in this. Ben matured a lot, I think, from his previous years, getting sacked every other play to protecting himself. Yeah. So I think it was a collective effort. And then obviously the Steelers mentality was very beneficial to us of trying to keep us together. It was unfortunate that we weren't able to achieve more success as a group together. That is the only unfortunate part, because then we would have been celebrating together, for eternity. Yeah, but I thought it was a combination. I thought it was a Steeler way. I thought it was Munchak, Coach Tomlin. It was Ben. It was the running backs who were also incredible. D'Angelo Williams. That was a laugher too.
He was. That's our guy.
You're right, Le'Veon. We just had amazing personnel on offense, and when everything is clicking, then the offensive line shines. So I don't think we should take all the credit either, Ramon. I think
absolutely.
We had Todd Haley too. We were stacked. And we all worked very well together. The protections were great. They made a lot of sense. I was fortunate enough to be part of other systems where they teach protections and be able to verify that how pragmatic Munchak was in being able to distribute the responsibility and be able to help the guys who needed it was instrumental for the success of the O-line.
Somebody got a question. It's a good one. I just had it start to Al. There's comments on the side of here. A lot of people saying stuff. They glad to see you. A lot of people saying thank you for your service and everything too, man. But yeah, Ax, when you retired, you said something to the effect that you would not miss playing the game. I feel the same way too. Do you still feel that way, or do you miss it?
My thing is it's impossible for me to play, like to conceive, playing the game of football right now.
I don't even watch it the same.
No, my body would. I watch the game of football and I'm just like,
I know, I do the same. Yes.
I hear the clacking of the helmets and I'm like, oh.
Yes.
I'm sensitive now. There's no way. I'm 255. My hands are nice and soft. There's no way. We appreciate it while I lasted. In my situation, I was extremely fortunate that I was able to play football, because my odds would have been, there's no way that someone like me should have been playing football right now, or have a career in the NFL. And once you retire, and obviously with age, then I don't think I could play 2 plays in the NFL right now. So
you can't fake football.
No, you can't fake football. You gotta be all in. Your muscles gotta be tight. And I don't even think about the possibility of playing football.
This is unique right here too, man, from Kenneth. And I think it's super unique, Al. And just a little bit of explanation. Can you talk about your development? We got Al's development from practice squad to starter, and also Pro Bowler. So we got to throw that in there. Did I know you were going to be that good? I didn't know what you were going to be. I'm going to be honest with you. And probably the same way a lot of people feel about me. And I saw somebody a second ago said, 2/5 of that offensive line was undrafted. That was me and you, like having to find our way, Al. Like, there it is right there. Crazy thing.
Filer for a year was undrafted too. There was
the anchor. But
yeah.
the anchor, man. I saw him in Tampa this year, dude. It was so good seeing him, man.
He's so large. Like when you retire and you see an NFL player, you're like, geez, you guys are big, bro.
You know who did it for me? It wasn't even a big dude. It was Minka.
I saw Minka.
Neck.
I know. I went fishing with Minka and I was like, damn, Mink. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy how big he is. I see Minka all the time. He comes out here in the offseason.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's down in Miami in the offseason.
No, it's crazy.
But how was that development? Because you had to gain a lot of weight. And
my development was, somebody told me when I was in the Army, they love the military so much that even if they give you 1 year in the system, you'll make enough money to go to business school and then you can continue on with your life. So my only goal was to go into a business school and move on with my life. The transition from being a military veteran, a military active duty personnel to a veteran is the hardest transition. And you've experienced the transition to go from a football player into a civilian. And you know how difficult and challenging it is. And the military is 30,000 times harder. And so for me, when I was in practice squad, I was way more concerned about being able to go into a good university. And in this case, it was Carnegie Mellon. And I thought I was going to know you guys, and then you guys would be playing football, and I'll be at school, and then maybe, every now and then I'll be able to say hi to you if I ever saw you on the shady side or whatnot. But I never thought I was going to be playing football. Now, the good thing is that Munchak was an incredible coach. So if you just show up to work and you try to absorb from the culture of you, Pouncey, Gill, the Beecham was my biggest inspiration. Yeah. Beecham is the player that I have emulated my game. I always thought, well, I want to be like Jason Peters. But when I saw Beecham play, I said, this dude, he is the most proficient in the tackle technique. He prepares the best out of any professional that I've ever seen. He cares the most. And I have never, and I learned everything from him. The high hip double team move, that was Beecham. The trap move, when somebody would try to elongate their arms, that was Beecham. The jump set, every single thing that I learned was from Kevin Beecham. So my development from practice squad standpoint was watching Beecham and saying, man, if Beecham can do it, I should have no excuse whatsoever to be able to play in the National Football League, hopefully for another team.
Because to your point, he was undersized. He had long arms, but he had he had to do all of those things. To where some guys are born with the stuff and it comes easier.
Right. But it was just his preparation. Like the way he would watch film, he was biting his nails the entire time watching film. He created a level of anxiety to himself in order to play. He had a lot less room for error than larger human beings that were playing at the same position. And so I started picking up everything from him, from psyching myself up with a pass rusher to being able to rank guys and develop strategies. Beecham was the guy that allowed that whole transition possible. And, because I had not just Beecham, but I also have Mike Adams in front of me. I always thought that it was going to be impossible for me to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I never saw it as
and a stabbing and an injury later, and you're right in there.
Right. It was crazy. I mean, the odds are very, very slim, and so that's why I never prepare myself mentally to have a career in the NFL that would be, just based on football. I always thought that football was going to be complementary, just like my education at West Point or university. Football would complement me and be able to help me, move on with life.
Danny asks, can you talk about playing against the Steelers and being a Raven real quick? Because I know they trash talked you so bad. I know somebody who said something. Anybody? TJ said nothing.
Who is TJ gonna say during the game? First of all, he plays on the other side. You know what I mean? You wanna come with the real boys? Come out here to the left side. You
gonna tell them that?
No. I tell anybody. You know what I mean?
I'm messing with you. Yeah.
I never went, so I had to go against Alex Highsmith, who's the nicest, kindest, most amazing human being on the planet. He's not gonna talk smack. Chris Wormley was a Raven. He's not gonna, and then Cam. I'll tell my, you know what I mean? Like, what was this kid going to say? He was the nicest guy. You know, he's not going to say anything. And then the other one was Devin Bush. Devin Bush is the man, you know. Like,
Yeah.
You can say a lot, but you can't hate. What are you going to do? Are you willing to engage in a conversation with me? Are you willing to get into my area of dominion? You know, are you willing to battle me with words? Oh no, that's the
you're
last
good
thing
at
you
it.
wanna do. Yeah,
You'll speak Spanish on them. Yeah.
yeah. But the feeling was very surreal. It was very weird. Obviously, going to Pittsburgh, I really wanted to win so bad, but there's something, and I noticed the insecurity in the Ravens facility when it was time to play the Steelers. And it was very similar to when the Patriots players would come to us and they would say, bro, we can beat them. You know what I mean? We can beat the Patriots. They're not all that. But for the Ravens, the Steelers have their number. You know, Coach Tomlin knows how to play a defense that rattles Lamar. He's blitzing nonstop. The coaches for Steeler Week, they act different. That transmits to the players. I was trying to tell them, no, you know what I mean? Stay disciplined, you know, we'll get them, you know. But it was impossible. The Steelers know exactly how to play the Ravens, and so yeah, we lost both. I mean, they lost this year, you know, twice again. You know,
twice again.
Right.
That's fascinating. You say that. I always kind of say that to folks too. Is there were that week is special right there in Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. We could go on about that one. What are you about to say?
It's not special. It's not.
To me, it was. See, you went to both sides. To me, it was.
No game.
You didn't think it was in Pittsburgh? Those night games?
To me, no, because I matched up very well against Terrell Suggs, and so for me, the game was not.
Okay, that's different.
Was not as difficult when they had. Who's the guy that went to Green Bay?
Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius, when he was coming up, he was a challenge. But fortunately for me, he was only there for 3 years. But no, we always matched up well against Baltimore. Maybe on the other side of the ball, they ran the ball more, whatever. But for us, for me specifically, that was not as challenging as it was for the interior. The interior had to go against heavyweights, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's different on the inside.
For me, what I remember was Cincinnati. Cincinnati was the rivalry where I would get the jitters, and I would get the I would get like the full body adrenaline shots when we had to play that defensive line of Gilberry, Michael Johnson, Gino,
Dunlap.
Yeah,
all the linebackers too.
Yeah, the linebackers were very good. They just had a very, very good defense. 4-3 is a lot harder, you know what I mean? Because they just keep coming. I thought Philly was a very tough defense too, but I never thought that the Baltimore game was going to be very. I mean, I knew my whole in-laws were going to be in the stands. You know, Maryland is a state that I've spent a lot of time in, so I feel almost at home in Maryland, and it was never that weird to me. It was weird that it was it created into a rivalry. I was like, why? What was this a rivalry? You know what I mean? But both cities are exactly the same.
What turned Cincinnati into what it was, in your opinion? Us and that what was that 3-4 years?
Yeah, so I thought it was the defensive coordinator who coached in Minnesota. Forgot his name.
Look that up for you. I'll find his name here.
Yeah, I'm horrible with names, but Zimmer. Yeah, Zimmer had the 4-3 double barrel. The double barrel was something that created a lot of stress and angst to Munchak. And it was a defense that was extremely difficult to stop for me, because as a tackle, you had to have your eyes on the A-gap to see if the linebacker was going to blitz. And if he blitzed, you had to get the 3 technique.
Yep.
So that was very uncomfortable, because
we had to communicate a lot in those games. A lot.
And then they had Andy Dalton, who's a very, very good quarterback, underrated quarterback. AJ Green, he just like you, man. was amazing. They had Eifert, so they were stacked. They had an amazing team. And
Giovanni
Bernard, yeah. They just for me the tough game was going to be I hate it. Was cleaner looks to play a 4-3 defense, but it was way more physical. And it was a lot more challenging because they built their team around their defense. And I always remember the Cincinnati game as being the most challenging game that we played.
I remember, of course, Shazier's situation, AB getting
Right.
knocked out. Like it was a few
Yeah.
times we were on that field and we was like, what the heck is going on?
Right. I always felt with Baltimore, we were boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were way cooler with Baltimore.
See, that's because you and Suggs laughed and had a good time on the outside. And I got to give it to him. Pearson was cool up the middle.
Yeah.
They weren't.
CJ
It was more
Mosley,
respect.
CJ Mosley was cool. It wasn't like Cincinnati.
It was respect. No, it was respect.
Cincinnati was a lot rougher. I mean, we had a lot of respect with the D-line guys, but everybody else, Pac-Man Jones, Kirkpatrick, that was a different. That was a lot more. That was a lot more animosity in it. But Baltimore, I mean, we were always talking on the side, in between, with Humphreys, and all these little laughers too, and they have a very, very similar culture, and they build almost the same way as the Steelers. So I found it to be an incredible organization and an amazing a part of my journey in the National Football League for sure.
Oh, doubt. Speaking of your journey too, this one comes up real quick, and that one we'll tiptoe around it however we have to. The conversation in Chicago. You want to have that one? I got to ask you first. You mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can.
I just the way it happened wasn't how you planned it to happen or the team.
No, right.
And for some reason, people don't want to believe that. People think that you did it on your own. You got plastered as one thing that you weren't. You were used on message boards that you wouldn't. Yeah. So I've told it before. Like it didn't go the way the media, me being on the media side now, you guys always made fun of me about that too. Me being on the media side now, I see how narratives can be written. That the truth is cool, but the story is way bigger. So let's go with this story.
Right. That's why never, there was a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that happened afterwards that would have changed my life in terms of, people, opportunities and whatnot. But I try to tell you, I was like, there was no message there. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to tell anybody anything. I could care less if people do cartwheels during the national anthem. I'd much rather live in a country that allows you to do whatever you want than one that forces you to do something, To live in a dystopian society where you have to do something in America, to me, seems surreal. But the confusion did create an unwanted and unnecessary, because I'm doing this for you. I don't have social media. I would never claim to know the truth about anything. Matter of fact, the more I learn and the more I mature in my life, the more I realize that I know less. And I'm I guess wise enough to know that and experienced enough to have been to many different parts of the world where they view things completely different. I know why America is what it is. And a lot of people try to tell me what America is. And, it's like, how do you know America if you've never lived anywhere else? You know what I mean? How do you know you want to only play for one coach if you've never played for anybody else? To me, it's just not a pragmatic answer. And so when it happened, I remember somebody showing me I remember making this comment to Munchak. I said, somebody sent me it was in like an alt-right,
an extremist group.
It was on a kind of alt-right media thing, and I said, man, I'm gonna tell these people that I'm an illegal immigrant, so maybe they take me out. Maybe they're like, oh, we're conflicted now. What can we do about this?
That's what's so crazy about you. Your name is Alejandro Villanueva. You speak how many languages?
Nobody knows anything about my life. Nobody even they call me Al, Ali. And that's how they people are like, you guys don't understand. I don't speak English. You know what I mean? Like this is my second language. I'm pretending to act like an American right now. This is not who I am. I have a view of America where patriotism is not being nationalistic. It's not being, I'm better than you, this is the best. It's more, I've always admired American patriotism because of gratitude, because people are very thankful to be in America. Whether it's the best country in the world or not is incredibly debatable. Somebody in France, somebody in Switzerland will tell you, oh, you guys Americans, oh, you guys have whatever. But Americans are very thankful to be Americans. And when you're thankful to be American, that's all it takes. You don't have to say, I'm better than everybody else. That's what they do in Germany. That's what they do in Spain. That's what they do in France. That's what they do in England. But we're Americans. We're not a nation. We're an idea. And it's this idea that is up to you to realize. And so I was always extremely respectful of everyone's opinions on the team regarding a very sensitive situation. And I remember I told you, I said, Ramon, regardless of the truths and the facts, because we could debate them and they were very sensitive. The fact that somebody shows up to the facility feeling if somebody showed up to
you
the
went out
facility,
for a second. If you said the fact that somebody showed up to the facility feeling what?
Right. During that period of time, the fact that somebody shows up to the facility and they are sad about the circumstances surrounding their own country, to me is enough. It's like, dude, how can I change your feelings? How can I debate how you feel? This is how you feel. This is who you are. This is your narrative. And I have to respect that 1,000%. When it came to the national anthem, I also have the unique circumstance that, to me, the military in America offered me an incredible way of life. And I will be so thankful for the rest of my life for this country, for the ability to have been attended to West Point, for the ability to have met so many different troops from so many different places, for the ability to play football and get to know the United States. For me, I was very thankful for that. And so as a soldier, I had a completely different point of view as everybody else. And so I wanted to respect everybody's views. I told the team leadership, I told this 1,000 times. I've realized that there's no, I'm not trying to gain anything out of this. It's like I'm never going to write a book about this.
You actually hated it.
I hate attention. Attention is the worst. You gain nothing out of it. Once you get to the top, all you're going to go goes down. Like, well, what's the point of fame? My life is very simple. I'm with my family, with my bros. I don't owe anything to anybody. There's something beautiful about that. I don't have to impress anybody. I can let my beard grow. I can do whatever. So when that happened, it was a lot of people from the organization came out and to say, we should have done this, the other. Sure, whatever. It could have been handled at a different hindsight 2020 for sure. But from my perspective, I tried not to be alone, and I tried not to have the cameras in front of me. The fact that the cameras showed up and they were there was very
blacked
important.
out. It was edited. The tunnel darkness highlighted you and put us behind, and I was just but those are narratives, though.
Yeah, I would just never. I would never investigate. I would never. I think it's too. There's nothing's going to come out of it. Nothing reaching the bottom truth of as to why I was left alone, and I didn't have the captains next to me like they told me they were going to be, or why did certain people didn't come out with me, or what? Who cares? It happened. I remember forgetting about it the next day, or no, obviously the next day was a lot more difficult. But trying to move on and say if you don't pay attention to it, it'll go away. And it went away. And a lot of times, if I do people, oh, you're the guy that's to the national anthem, it's like I engage in meaningless conversations throughout my entire life because I'm 6'10", and every single time I'm going to walk into a place, somebody's going to say, "How tall are you? Do you play basketball? How can you find clothes? Do you fit in your car?" So now I just have to add another, sort of meaningless conversation regarding the national anthem, which at the end of the day is, if you're thankful to be an American, that's amazing. That's awesome. If you have other feelings, then, you're more than welcome to be in this country as well, because in this country, we want diversity of opinions. The moment we become monogamous into how we all think and how we all act, then we would not be American. We'll become a nation. And then at that point, we have no advantages over Eurasia and other countries in the world that can, ship products amongst themselves, and they can do things a lot more efficient than this isolated continent away from the rest of the world.
Love it, man. I told him I might ask you one thing. I saw you on a plane one time when we were leaving. And you said the only time you get nervous is when we fly. And then you told us at Porch Talk, why? Your last mission. You mind going through that one? On why you were nervous to fly?
Well, I don't like flying. A lot of people don't like flying. First of all, a lot of people don't like flying. I don't like getting blood either. We can go through all my fears in life and my phobias. I don't like flying. My dad is a pilot, and he's always told me like.
But you jumped out of planes.
Yeah, and that's even worse. That's even worse. Jumping out of planes is the worst thing I've ever, done with full consent.
With full
For sure,
consent.
for sure. The worst thing that I've ever done in my life is jumping out of airplanes. I hate
So
it.
the same way you can't watch football, you can't think about jumping out of a plane no more.
Jumping out. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. Jumping out of airplanes is something that the military has because we did it in World War II. There is no way. I will bet right now. I don't want to bet, but there's no way we're going to jump into combat again. Like if you saw how low these planes fly, if you realize that, total warfare is not effective anymore. It's a thing that we do it's a gut check.
It's a gut
the
check.
80-second jumps. The Rangers jump. We jump. We're airborne. Oh, look how many people put comments in there. Airborne, go airborne. Yeah. Airborne is cool. It's tight. I hate jumping. Jumping is the word. So flying was very stressful because when I was in Afghanistan, my second tour in 2013, I was going to go to the gym because we had a reverse schedule. So we would wake up at around 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we would go work out, dinner for breakfast, which is amazing, and then we would go into the tactical operations center. We'll get briefed to the missions and whatever. And there was a plane, a 747, that was taken off at Bagram Airfield, and I remember seeing a 747 take off at Bagram, and I said, "Man, that's kind of weird." That there's a 747. A 747 is a decommissioned plane, civilian plane. I wonder what this plane is doing here. And I saw it take off, and it was going very slow, and it paused in the air, and then it crashed right in front of me. And I remember I was watching it go down, and I started running like I'm going to save these people. And then I just saw this giant ball of fire, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go to the gym and do legs now. There's nothing I can do now. And so that was one. And then the next deployment on my last mission, we went out to a valley in Wardak called Chaki Wardak, and we had to walk in the snow forever. And we had to find I guess I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about tactical operation procedures, but basically there was a building that we had to go investigate because like 15 adult males had gone into it, and we went in there, and when we saw it, it was a well. I was like, man, this is a well. This is not a building. You know what I mean? There's nothing here. And we just kept on the radio. No, that's it. We're flashing on, go in there, there's nothing here. So we spent all night there trying to figure out. We dropped grenades. We did everything. It's just a well. And then when we left the mission, it was like, well, there's nothing we can do here. We got RPGs fired at us as we were loading the Chinooks to get out.
Which is a helicopter.
The helicopter, right? You have billions of them out there at Fort Campbell. They were probably from Fort Campbell as well in Tennessee. And when the helicopter took off, then it started going to an evasive maneuver, and so it started shaking. And it was one of those things where you see things in slow motion. You think of you're like, man, I should have not watched Final Destination 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I should have not watched all these videos from gore.com and Lively, all these years. I should have never done this. But somehow we were able to manage. But helicopters, when they go into these maneuvers, man, they feel the up and down, and they feel the movement a lot more than a plane. And so every single time you recognize that on a plane, when especially landing in Pittsburgh is a very awkward landing because you have to go west to east most of the time, facing against the eastern winds. The pilots sometimes, they're like, oh, I got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to show them this maneuver right here. And I was like, no, take it easy. Take it easy. I got all the time in the world to get home. Take it easy. But it would get bumpy, and it would get very sketchy. And I would always, forget in a full sweat, and Dave would be laughing at me the whole time, and, fortunately nothing has happened. So, but flying is not one of my favorite things for sure.
Speaking of Dave, we had a few folks ask the question, who's the better fisherman, you or him?
Dave?
Yeah, between you and Dave.
You categorizing Dave as a fisherman? David's
he
not a
was your
fisherman.
fishing buddy.
Yeah, he's a guest. He's a good fishing guest. You know what I mean? He's not a fisherman.
I can't wait to tell him. I can't wait to tell him you crap talking to him, man.
No, he's not gonna debate that. David's not gonna debate that. I'm the greatest fisherman that has ever. You know, I'm the best.
We'll see when we come down to Miami, man.
I'm the best. I'm the best. There's no one else that can outfish me. I'll cut the line.
Stop it. We'll see. We'll see, man. One of the things too you always said about Afghanistan too, or overseas when you were touring, you said two things that was super unique to me, and I was like, yeah, right. You said some of the best fruits you ever had came from Afghanistan, and you said some of the best fried chicken you ever had came out of that area.
Hands down.
Stop.
So I actually call my farm Kandahar Farms. So my farm is called Kandahar Farms, and people down here in Miami can't pronounce the name at all. You know what I mean, whatsoever. But Kandahar is one of the oldest cities in Western. Well, I guess you cannot consider Western civilization, but it's one of the oldest cities in civilization. It was founded by Alexander the Great. In their language, it was Iskandar, and then it later got translated to Kandahar. And Kandahar is one of the most amazing places that I've ever been to. And everybody knows that. Well, I wouldn't say everybody knows, but if you grow fruit in very dry environments, they usually tend to get very sweet. Okay. And so the fruit there, the pomegranates, the grapes, apples, anything that you ate off the ground, which now that I'm a farmer, I'm like, yeah, I know why they were putting bombs everywhere. You know, I got these 70 goons walking through my fields, taking all the fruit. You know what I mean? What do you think? I want to welcome it with open arms, you know? Thank you so much for being in my country. We were savage in their fields, you know? And so Kandahar was Kandahar is, you can't travel there. You know, you're not going to find Instagram reels or some girl going there with her boyfriend, dragging him by the hand, you know, going like, oh, look at these mountains of the Hindu Kush. You know, you can't go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan is an extremely dangerous country, but it is beautiful because it's so rare. And the people there live like you're in the Bible. I mean, they live out of houses made out of mud, extremely conservative beyond anything that you've ever seen. No music, no games. Yeah. Very rural, very Jesus, I mean, the Afghans are insanely tough, you know, and the way that they cook was very rudimentary, and they would, you know, kill a chicken right there that was running on the yard. They would make him in an hour with some rice and some incredible ingredient. And a lot of it is, you know, I'm a huge fan of Indian food, you know, so if you like Indian food, you can imagine what it's like to eat something that is of that nature in the Pakistan, Afghanistan, Indian region. It is insane, amazing food. Afghanistan has an incredible culture. Obviously, I don't agree with a lot of their practices, but I'm more of an Anthony Bourdain who likes to go out there to try their food, explore a little bit to see how they live their life, and then don't make no judgments whatsoever. Take what you can, enjoy it, add it to your perspective and experiences in life, and then move on. And so for me, it wasn't fried chicken like they do in the South, obviously. You know what I mean? With, you know, canola oil and incredible breading. And
some flour and everything.
Yeah. It wasn't like that, but it was very, very delicious. I remember the chicken and the lamb there in Afghanistan were incredible.
No doubt about it, man. So I've been telling folks, of course, man, you have somehow taken credit for Mason's reemergence.
100%.
No, see, this is the thing right here, Al. You always do this.
I'm him.
No, you're not him. Okay, you used to be. Now you're just you. Okay, you're not him anymore. Okay, where's Marquise when you see what I'm saying? Like you need humbling. Like
no. Mason was part of the Breakfast Club, which is your
he was,
and he liked to get abused, and so because he liked to get abused. He was part of the Brodies. Yeah, we would crush him. You know what I mean? But I thought my thing was this: when I saw Mason play that game against the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns. Okay.
Yes.
You talking about the one we were in?
Yes. And he went through that whole episode. And again, there's microphones everywhere. There's Matt Filer, who has never told a lie in his life.
Yeah, get to it.
You know what I mean? He went through that episode that was such a challenging, difficult moment in his life.
And so before you go further, before you hold that moment right there, when people ask that question, how Mason got buried, how Mason was put on the back burner, and the narrative that he couldn't play football, your point is being made as the same as mine. Stuff transpired from that game that changed the outlook on him.
1,000%. He went through that, and then a year later, the year of COVID, the last game of the season, we're playing the Browns. We played the Browns the week after in the playoffs, and we got smashed. But that last game, Coach Tomlin said, yeah, Ben out, Ramon out, Dave out. And so I'm like, you kidding me? I'm playing out here this game with who, man? But Mason was playing that game. Mason is starting the game.
We did get golden tickets.
You got the golden ticket.
I got a golden ticket that day.
Yeah, you were giving me water on the sidelines. Yeah, you got it, bro. You know what I mean? You were giving me the iPad. What do you want? An iPad? You want a hoodie?
You need a blanket?
You need a blanket? Yeah. So when I remember thinking to myself, man, this gotta be hard. This has to be difficult for anybody to go through this and then face Myles Garrett at home to go to the playoffs. If the Browns won the game, they were going to the playoffs, and then half the starters for the Steelers are not there. And we almost won that game. And Mason played an incredible game. Incredible game. You know what I mean? It was just amazing to see him so poised. So, you just never – it's very – American football, in my opinion, is made to inspire American culture. And American culture thrives on people under pressure, like Tom Cruise, when everything's on the line, you say, like, I got your goose, you know what I mean? And you save the day. That is what American football is made for. That's why quarterbacks can only be evaluated when they're playing under pressure.
When they're playing under pressure.
It's the only way that you can evaluate a quarterback. If you evaluate a quarterback when you got an offensive line and you run the ball all day and you never have to be challenged in protections and people are scared of the run game and they're not scared of you in 2 minutes, then the quarterback is okay, you know what I mean? Right. But he's not going to be a quarterback that people want to watch. People want to watch Tom Brady on a 2-minute drill to win the game. People want to watch Peyton Manning say Omaha, change the route and make the touchdown. So when I saw Mason Rudolph play that game, I was very inspired. I was very proud of him. And at that moment, I thought he has something that a lot of people don't have, and that is guts. He's got guts. He's poised. I remember when he first started, the famous words from Coach Munchak that I shall not repeat. This kid has got an accuracy. He's got an amazing talent.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But he proved that once he learned the game, his head was he became a complete quarterback. And then, unfortunately for him, situations got ugly. They signed a backup quarterback for a large sum of money, and you and I know what happens when you sign somebody for it's just,
you got to play.
You got to play him. You got to put him in there. And obviously, they drafted a quarterback as well, and so Mason was completely overlooked by the organization. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was just.
That's what I was going to say. You can't say it's intentional. It's just how the game goes.
It's just it's standard procedure in the NFL. And so when Mason will come down during, think about it, like the Breakfast Club is over. Mason, there's no more Breakfast Club anymore. There's no more. Club. Even Zach Banner is gone. You know what I mean? So he doesn't have a sidekick. He's from a different era. He's got to go hang out with TJ and Cam, you know what I mean? Like with the old guys. Because Mason now has been in the organization for many years.
I think with Cam, TJ, Mason.
Yeah. So when he would come down, he would always, Miami's the mecca for NFL players when they want to spend money and forget about life, And so he would come here like a renegade and we would talk. And I could see that his IQ as a quarterback had developed tremendously because I would try to test him. I would try to question him on themes about offensive line play regarding protections and adjustments and whatnot. And man, he got it. He knew it all. He was speaking now at a very high level in the game of football. And so that's when I became a sports psychologist, and that's why I deserve all the credit. That's why, Coach Tomlin owes me a check or something. You know what I mean?
I'm going to have DK save this clip and play this live for Mason tomorrow because he's coming on. And the fact that you said you saved Mason, I need to see his reaction to this.
Yeah, he's going to laugh. Ha, 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 ha. No, that was a good guy. Yeah, whatever. Sure. Yeah, whatever. He'll say whatever. You know what I mean? No, obviously nobody can take credit for anybody's development except for your own person. Nobody. I'm not out there making throws. I'm not out there living the stress that he's had to live. Obviously it is. We also cannot sit here and say poor Mason, an extremely good-looking quarterback as a backup, freshly clean uniform in Pittsburgh,
Don Draper.
Bachelor. Yeah. Okay. How bad was it, Mason? Tell us. You know what I mean? Oh, you want to write a letter to kids in Gaza right now and tell them how difficult it was for you to be in Pittsburgh as a backup? But thankfully he got an opportunity. A lot of people don't even get that opportunity. So when he took the chance, he did amazing. Even the last game, he played incredible. And so, unfortunately for him now, he's got to go into a little bit of free agency, which is going to be a little bit stressful for him. But I think you never know. That's what you always say in football. That is a very Ramon Foster football nugget. You never know. You never know. You never know.
You don't, man. But so you was there in his first start, if I'm not mistaken. You was out there when Earl Thomas got him.
Yeah, that was actually a 74 protection.
Oh my gosh,
that is a 74 protection. I always tell it's funny. Like that protection is hilarious. You got 4 rooms that have to get this protection right. You got the quarterbacks that got to get it right. You got the running backs that got to get it right. You got the line that got to get it right, and you got the tight ends that got to get it right. And if you got a 80% chance of getting it right, but you multiply that times 4, man, it's a less than a 50% chance that you're going to be able to get that protection right.
It had a lot of options that didn't need to be there, but when they worked, they were perfect. And when there was leakage, it was bad.
Right. And in this case, Earl Thomas is the only person that cannot blitz on a 74 protection. The only person that can't blitz. Everybody else can, the Mike, the Will, the Sam, everybody can blitz except for him. And he blitzed on that play because I think he was I don't know, he was fine or whatever. But you and I were right there. We saw the lights out.
Yeah, we did. You remember his hands, his body, and everything. I never remember. Hell, I'm looking at you like you're supposed to be the Army medic. Like, help him, man. And I'm standing over him, yelling to Norwig, "Hey, no, you need to get out here right now."
I wanted to go mouth to mouth right away.
No, well, that's for other reasons. Nah.
How funny would it have been if he wakes up and I was like, "Hey, Mason, you're alive because I've been mouth to mouth." Well, you got a concussion. I was breathing the whole time. I was like, I know, hey,
Bro, grow up, man.
There's nothing you can do. He's knocked out, cold wig, put some salts on him, sniff him up, go back to life, and then, go ahead.
What's fascinating about that, though, is, man, we're an hour and a half in, but you owe me like 23 minutes. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't want to go back in with my kids. Are you kidding me?
I can't wait to tell Maddie.
Yeah, we're going to go do homework right now, the ABCs? No, bro. It's a 6-hour podcast. We're going live all day.
We'll do it live. Okay.
Yeah, let me start cracking beers right now.
All right, but what was different, though, now from that moment? Like, God, dude, what is wrong with you, man? I thought we said we were growing up. Are we not going to grow up or what?
I'm 35. It's 35 old. I guess it's old.
No, we're never growing up. Screw that. We're not growing up, man. But Mason seems more settled now. Like he's got a sense of calm about his play. Like, and not that I don't want you to parse one against the other here, but like watching Kenny being a young quarterback, quick to run out of the pocket. I want you to explain why that's bad for O-line, but also why Mason staying in the pocket allows for the offense to develop the same way Ben did with us, unless it was totally necessary.
Yeah, so I'll ask you a disclaimer first. I don't know the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't watch football. When Mason is playing, I do watch. I do watch. Well, no, I don't watch football at all. My son watches the Dolphins all day. He's obsessed with Tyreek Hill the whole time. You know what I mean? There's that and that, but I don't watch football.
But just speak on the quarterback leaving the pocket real quick, then, if you hadn't watched.
Right. So based on that, if a quarterback, I experienced that with Lamar. Ben was a statue. Ben thought, why even go through the 8 steps to go into 6? He just got the ball at 6, planted both his feet, and then he threw the ball. In the pocket, when he stays at 6 feet for a tackle, is a lot easier because you can protect inside out. So when you protect inside out, the tackle feels a lot more comfortable because if he does the loop, then you just push him by and there's no issue. But when you push him by and you're like, oh my God, awesome. And then you get to 10 yards and the quarterback is there because he's getting skittish and he's playing back, then you start giving up a lot of sacks.
Yep.
And when you start giving up a lot of sacks as a tackle, you start doubting where the quarterback is going to be in the pocket. And that creates a lot of angst for the guard, for the tackle, for twists. Because if you, let's say that you stepped at 10 yards and you start feeling the pressure on the left and you start riding, then it becomes a habit. For a left tackle, the easiest thing is to stay at 6 yard. And if you got a badass dude on the left, you go towards the left and you play with that guy, because we all know what happens on the right side. The right side's got, it's a right formation, and the right formation has a tight end. So that right defensive end is chilling.
Listen to you going at Gil right now again. This is something you always just mess with Gil about.
Mega chilling. No, left tackles and right tackles are the same. Most formations are right formations. I had a tight end on my side 4 times, in my career. So tight ends usually line up on the right side. The quarterback has to know that the best rusher is always going to be on the left, and that guy is waiting for that strip sack fumble.
Yeah.
So when you get that strip sack fumble, it demoralizes the tackle. And now the tackle is saying, I want to avoid a strip sack fumble, so I'm going to overset, and I'm going to try to get him to go even wider, or just not, because think about this. Why am I telling you this? You're an offensive lineman. You and I are running
they need to know.
If you and I are running forward, right?
Yeah.
With an elastic band, we cannot beat any of the defensive ends. We're the slowest players on the field. The only chance that we have is if we lure him into going through us.
Yes.
And then we suffer a slow death, which we don't mind because we're selfless. And then the quarterback has enough time to throw the ball. But the ball sometimes is thrown with the guy inches away from the quarterback. That's the National Football League. And when the quarterback sits in the pocket and he takes hits and he avoids sacks, it makes the entire offensive line very trained, almost like chickens. That the pocket is going to be from 4 yards to 6, 7 yards. The guards and the center have to be very stout.
Yeah. They
cannot give ground, but the tackles have the hardest jobs. And the tackles, especially the left tackle has the hardest job.
Stop. Oh my God. Stop.
The left tackle has the hardest job. He's going against the greatest athletes. 1,000%.
It's not even true.
If I got to do a 74 protection, I got to lock up a 3 technique. I'm lighting up a cigarette in the middle of the
Do you
field.
not see the monsters coming to the inside, Al?
I'm smoking a cigarette.
I'm not your enemy here, okay? I'm not your enemy here, Al.
Listen, we can't have this debate between you and I. It's gonna divide us. You know what I mean? The point is that where the quarterback is on the pocket and how long the quarterback is able to keep that pocket and make the throw helps the protection tremendously. It is incredible. When you have quarterbacks they want to run away, then the pocket becomes nothingness. Coaches say that you have to block for 6 seconds, which is impossible. The tackles lose their confidence, and it's Tom Brady play with an offensive line there with the 7 dwarfs. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter because they were so well trained where Tom Brady was going to be sitting like a statue at 6 to 7 yards, allowing the defensive ends to not be able to cut the corner and then being able to, make the throws. So I think that, I'm not an offensive coordinator. I don't want to speculate. If anybody who's coached will listen to me right now and say, why is this guy talking and playing? He doesn't understand how difficult it is to find talent. You got to cater to the talent, whatever it is, whatever it might be. But from my experience, if you want to throw the ball because you want to do 2-minute drills, if you want to be able to make a passing game on 6-man and 5-man protections consistently without having to depend on 7-man protections, it's much, much, much better if the quarterback stays on the pocket and makes the throw.
And that's not to say that having a athletic quarterback, a mobile quarterback, isn't a weapon. That's the 11th man for the offense. You can have a weapon.
Right. I noticed that with Lamar. Lamar is insane athlete. I don't think, if I was a GM, I would ever pick anybody other than Lamar. Lamar is ridiculous. Personally, athletically, he's amazing. But mobile quarterbacks don't want to feel trapped. Mobile quarterbacks don't want to have the feeling of being trapped because it gives them angst, and they always know that they can make a play with their legs, so they always want to keep a distance away from pressure. The unfortunate part is that those defensive ends are faster than you, bro. They're gonna get you. I gotta
I
get
gotta
you.
get you. I gotta get you.
Yeah.
No doubt. That's fascinating. You answered both of those questions flawlessly right there. I've asked you all these questions, and of course, I'll bring up a lot of this to Mason tomorrow. Mason's coming on tomorrow, by the way, at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, just for the folks who are in here, too. That'll be a hot conversation. We'll end it by this, man. I've always talked highly of him, and I know you have, too. Your summary on Coach Tomlin, honestly, it seems like most that talk about him somewhat say the same things, and how he's either shaped your mindset, the message that he gives you. He has this captivating way of making you want to run through a wall for him. And I know you say you don't watch football, but of course, with me doing this, we a lot of people, of course, are talking about, firing Coach Tomlin, get rid of him. We need a change in Pittsburgh. What type of coach is he? What kind of person is he? What did he mean to you as a player?
Coach Tomlin, I think, has a philosophy of football, which I've found throughout. When Coach Tomlin, we debated about Coach Tomlin's philosophies at every porch talk. Every single time that Coach Tomlin would make a speech and will say something, we will debate it every single day. We would analyze everything. And a lot of times, I remember Marquise Pouncey would be always on Coach Tomlin's side for the most part. And I would always, because of my role of being a devil's advocate, I would always try to see the other side.
DA. I carry that to this day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play DA, devil's advocate, just because it's good for conversation and balance of understanding. Yes, go ahead.
So I remember he would we always had this debate as to whether the NFL is about the coaches or the players. That was one of the arguments that we had constantly and all the time.
Yep.
And it was funny that Coach Tomlin would always say it's the players, and would always be the players, And so, as I've grown up, as I've been able to see different organizations, I ratified that vision that it is the players. It is the players. The players have to believe that they're the ones that win in the game, But the people that have the control to do that are the coaches. The coaches have the power of the psyche because they're the people that they listen to the most. They're the podcast. They're Jordan Peterson. They are their, Joe Rogans. You sit there and you listen to the same coach over and over and over and over again. And so the messages that Coach Tomlin had were incredibly helpful to anybody who's on a journey to find themselves. And I think that's the part that that's the part that I don't think people understand, or I don't think I even understood, that every year a football team is completely different. There's so many young people on a football team. And when there's so many people on a football team that are new, that are from college, you got to bring them into the same culture, into the same wavelength, into the same expectations. And I always thought that Latrobe was a place where he shined like anybody else that I've ever seen. And he would always get the best out of you. He would never enter. He never entertained. He never let issues linger in your head. He never created drama in divisions. He always tried to control the team. He had a very good pulse on the team. He was really good with young people. He tried to explain to those who listen about all the injustices that happen on the football team, which everybody that plays football, me, you, it doesn't matter. You feel like there are injustices happening to you, especially around contract times, especially around difficult times. And his mastery of the psyche of the human mind, his mastery of where do people come from, his understanding is second to none. I don't think I've ever met anybody in my life that is as talented as Coach Tomlin, ever, in any category. Yeah. Nobody has a mastery of the use of word. Nobody has a mastery of being able to gauge the conversation and the tone of the conversation. And nobody that's been able to address things in a way that need to be addressed. Has he made mistakes in his life? Yes, for sure. But he's not the person that's going to say that he's perfect either. So I don't think there's anybody more talented than Coach Tomlin that I've ever met, And so for me, I will always think of him in the highest regards. I would always think of him, all his lessons that he's ever taught me, and feel nothing but gratefulness for having been in contact with a man that I think grows from knowing the players. He stays current with the time because he's always so observant of everything that's going around in his team. And so I don't know.
It's not looking over your shoulder. It's not micromanaging.
No.
It's guiding is what I'd say.
It's good leadership. Yeah, it's just good. It's a good, fair leadership. He's very modest. He's not somebody that he's never going to say anything out of tone in the off season. You're never going to hear him say anything that is disrespectful to anybody. He knows how to keep himself, very clean in terms of like nobody's ever gotten a tape, out of Coach Tomlin saying something ignorant or whatever. He's just a very thankful person as well. Very honest to his roots of Virginia. Always people from Virginia at his homeboys from back in the day, and he's out there at Latrobe,
his brother, his boys,
boys, his nephew. So I think that he's an incredible human being. I have not kept up with anything that goes on with the Steelers. I'm assuming he's doing amazing. Obviously, they went to the playoffs this year. But I have also never heard, because he's such a private person, I have never heard his views on his career either. And it's not like I try not to bother Coach Tomlin, because I can go down the road of idiocracy and send stupid messages all day, And I know that he's a busy man, but he will entertain it. So incredibly blessed to have met him. Never met anybody more talented than Coach Tomlin in my life. Very thankful. I hope and I wish him the best. But I don't know anything about the Pittsburgh Steelers right now in their current situation. I think it would be a huge mistake if he was not the coach. I don't know what his contract situation is.
And I don't think that was an in-house thing for Mr. Rooney or nothing like that. But of course, you know how sports is, though, Al. You from an outsider's perspective, you've been to other places. It's all about now. Like the cycle of winning championships sometimes depends on, as you just said, the locker room, age of guys, the changing of culture. Is more than just, hey, you suck as a coach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm selfish because I'm not being coached by Coach Tomlin anymore, and he is of no use to me. And that's why I always thought that America would benefit tremendously if they could feel the same as I felt during those years in the locker room, if they could hear someone like Coach Tomlin as their leader. You know what I mean? Like I always envisioned that if somebody can deliver a message like he can, always based on, to me, it was the staple of his coaching was, do not blame others, don't minimize your role, do not make excuses, don't seek comfort. You know what I mean? That I thought that was a philosophy that is incredibly effective in the world of football, but also in life in general, which is, life is not supposed to be comfortable. Things are not supposed to happen your way, and the more that you embed that into your thinking, then the more that you stop thinking about the misfortunes that have happened in your life. Everybody has misfortunes, everybody has had things that have happened to them. That poor me, look at me, throw me the ball, put a tight end next to me, call 52 protection more, please, don't slide the protection away from me. We could argue all day, the quarterback is sliding away. At the end of the day, he always had a mentality that was very stoic, that was very balanced, and that it always translated into the two values of football that I think are the same values in American society, which are hard work and sacrifice. In America will take you further than anything else. There are no aristocracies. There are no Rockefellers or Vanderbilts no more. If you're willing to sacrifice more than the person next to you and you're willing to do more, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be successful. And so for me, that was his message, and I thought it was very, very powerful coming from him. It was very powerful coming from somebody who, surrounded his circumstances. Hampton, Virginia, I've been there. I remember, asking him about where he was from. His family came from North Carolina. They went to Hampton. Obviously, Hampton is a military installation that serves the military in construction works. That, Hampton, Virginia, and Norfolk are not pristine areas. You know what I mean? There's a lot of poverty in there, and so Coach Tomlin, always carried that philosophy. Became extremely successful, and the fact that he's spreading that amongst young men on a football team is a privilege to them. But you and I are no longer in that locker room. So if we can benefit, if we could all benefit from someone like him, you know what I mean? It would be incredible for me, because I think His talents are incredible. And maybe now that I look back at football, and I'm just like, football is very inconsequential. If it's just football, what you do with your life. Who cares if you're the most amazing leader in the world if all you're doing is scoring points and then, get people to buy insurance, beer, trucks? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares about these things? Let's take those lessons to the next level somehow,
What one lesson, I've said this in front of this this crowd before, man, and in general, and I've talked to other people that's been in my situation before, and I give credit to my wife and my family and stuff like that too. Definitely them first, but it was a conversation I had with you one day in the cafeteria, and you made a statement. You were around me when my mom passed in camp, and I appreciate you guys surrounding me and stuff like that. And I wasn't sulking; I was reflecting or something one day, and something came up, and healing when you lose a parent or something like that is crazy. You've been around a lot of losses in life. You've seen a lot. Like you say, you had a plane crash not far from in front of you. So you've seen life go. You've seen people have to deal with that too. But it was something that stuck with me, and I've passed it on to other people too, who's lost a parent or someone very, very, very close. And you said, Mo, we were in the cafeteria. I think we were either leaving or it was Breakfast Club one morning. He was like, Mo, man, the world somewhat still goes on. You hit me with that, and you was like, when something tragic happens around you, you can choose to stay in one spot. He's like, if you look around, everybody continue to move on. And you essentially said, like, I'm not telling you to move on, but you can remember, you can celebrate, but don't get stuck, essentially is what you told me.
Yeah, I mean, I have an optimistic
I say that to say thank you for that, because at that moment, it made me embrace, honestly, looking at pictures of my mom more, thinking about her more in a better light because of that conversation. And as my brother, man, I say I appreciate that. I don't know if I told you that directly. So I'm going to take it now and just throw you a couple flower petals your way right now.
Thanks. Send more.
Yes. No, I'm not saying no more. Absolutely not.
No. I mean, I remember this is a heavy conversation, but it is what it is. First time, I'm 21 years old, and the first time I saw a dead body. You see a dead body in Afghanistan, and it's crazy. The first thing you do when you die is you piss yourself and you defecate right off the bat.
Ooh.
There's nothing glorious about it. There's nothing charming about it. And when you die, when somebody dies, you realize that your own mortality. And when you realize your own mortality, then you realize that you cannot name 100 names from 100 years ago. That there's been billions of people that have populated Earth, and we don't remember them all, because that's the cycle of life, And I think life lives in eternity through your kids. When you pass down your life lessons, when you influence others, when you pass down your DNA, that's how us as humans in this temporary, very short life, we're given one opportunity at life. We don't know how long it's going to be, and then it ends, and then that's it. There's your own beliefs as to what happens afterwards. But in the big scheme of things, man, there's a person dying every 7 seconds. You know what I mean? There's always constantly people dying and passing away, and it is part of life, and there's nothing you can do about it. So a lot of times in Afghanistan, when that happens, a lot of soldiers, you almost have to make a choice. You're gonna make a choice that you're gonna let it go. This is, by the way, this is Top Gun. This is what happens in Top Gun.
You think you're a 6'10" Tom Cruise too? That's what I've also taken away.
I am Tom Cruise until Mason showed up. I was Tom Cruise. But it's true. I thought that was a very good moment in the movie where it truly, the first time you lose a soldier from your platoon under your responsibility passes away, and you're like, man, what are you going to do? And then you realize that there's other soldiers that you still got to lead on the next day, that you got kids, you know what I mean? That you have other people that depend on you. And then you have to try to do your best, because at the end of the day, and this is what Dave and I always talk about, we're lizards. We just have a brain that says, wake up in the morning, try to find some food, try to scavenge some water, you know what I mean? Try to get some sun, try to warm yourself. And then when you feel tired, go to sleep. And then the next day you try to do it again. And we try to do the best that we can with what we are given. And that's life. And life is not amazing, and it's not the worst. It's just what it is. There's no way to define it. Words cannot define grief, loss, whatever. It's a conscious decision to say, this thing happened. It will happen to me. I got to make the most out of it. That's what, optimist, nihilist, nothing matters. So make the most out of it. That is the That is sort of the plain and simple lesson. Nothing else matters. Whether your car gets trashed tomorrow, whether you lose your house, whether anything happens, a hurricane. Please don't come to the city of Miami. But a hurricane just wipes out the entire city. You know what I mean? And the next day you got to do it again. God forbid. I always think about it. Dave and I would always talk about this. What were two Germans having breakfast club in Germany in 1913 talking about, like, oh Hans, next year we're gonna have so much fun, and then you got 70 years of war and destruction upon you. You will never see peace in your lifetime.
Yeah.
You never know when the next thing is gonna happen. So you make the most out of it every single day, and then that's all you can do. Just control your attitude.
App munch.
Apps. You do apps, and then you move on, and then that's it. You cannot dwell on the injustices in life. You cannot dwell on the whys. We're just an ant colony living on this American continent, trying to do the best we can. You know what I mean? So
what was Munch's apps acronym?
Attitude determines practice. Practice determines performance. Performance determines success.
Such an army dude.
I said it like a military.
But that's Munch though. But that's him incorporating that though, man.
Apps. Oh. I remember Pouncey hated apps. He couldn't stand apps.
Because all he wanted to do was play football. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it is true. It's easier said than done, but your attitude towards anything in life is what determines everything, and absolutely, and sometimes I'll admit I have a horrible attitude today. Today I'm, it's going to be, it is what it is. But if you want to make the most out of something, you got to start with not making excuses and having a good attitude. That's what we learned with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what the lessons that we learn in life have shaped us into whoever we are today, for sure.
That's so true, man. Dog, you coming back on at some point, correct? We'll just bull crap around the next.
I don't know what I'm doing right now, man. For all I know, I'm FaceTiming you right now.
No, because if you really FaceTiming me, you be cussing like a sailor. That's what you be doing.
Yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is that, I understand these endeavors. I understand that the media has been something that you're passionate about, that you're trying to give back to the people, and you have an amazing voice, a great personality. You brighten people's days. You are Ramon Foster. You did this when you were a player. People are drawn to you. This is not something. Now, I don't know if you're talking smack about players. I don't know. That's the number one sin of the media in football.
You know what I do? You know what I so
I don't know
here's
if you've been hard on the Times players on the Times on the Tennessee
here we
Times.
go.
I don't know if you've been questioning their line.
You know what happens? I watch the tape, and if I understand what the tape said, then I talk about if it was good, if it's bad. But no. Hear me out.
So
I give no.
Vrabel was giving you the script.
He's no longer here. He's no longer here.
Was giving you the script? Was giving you the
if there was a bad no. If there's an egregious bad play, or the fact that you will not or cannot move the line of scrimmage, Al, that is something that you have to talk. That's noticeable. You know when it looks bad, the same way that we just spoke about how it could be with Mason, or a quarterback rolling out of the pocket too quick.
Negativity sells.
See, this is what you do. No, we don't practice negativity. We practice truth here. Ask this base. We practice truth here. And this is just you, Al, taking over and trying to play devil's advocate. This is your DA moment right here. You miss me. Just say that.
Nothing
just say
true.
that.
We could be in the Matrix.
Just say you miss me. Just say you miss me, okay, Al?
Sure. I miss you. But I'm just giving you the heads up, to the media. The heads up. Know what it's like. You know what I mean? Know what it's like.
That's beautiful. Hey, man, I got to go get my kid, RJ. Miles is here already, man. You'd be surprised how big the boys are, Ale. But a good time. Did you freeze up on me again? Al's got this terrible service, man. Ale. Either way, good people, if Al doesn't pop back in here, that may actually conclude our show, man. We've given you almost 2 hours, man. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Dolly, you can take us away. Peace.